After my wife passed, I moved in to be closer to my grandkids. The first night, my son-in-law changed the locks on the bathroom. "We need boundaries," he said. He made me ask permission to eat. My daughter just kept stirring the soup. "He's right, Dad. You're not a guest. You're a burden." The day they went on vacation, they left me with no food and took the car keys. What I did next shocked even me. My wife died last year. Cancer. It started in her breast, spread fast. She was gone in 8 months. I was with her every day through the chemo, the hospice, the silence at the end. When it was over, I just sat in the house staring at her old slippers by the bed. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I was 68 and suddenly felt like I was already dead too. After the funeral, things went quiet. Friends stopped calling. My church people brought food for a week, then that stopped too. My daughter Dana checked in every now and then. Her husband Rick, not so much. But Dana eventually suggested I move in with them in Louisville to be closer to my grandkids. Said it'd help keep me busy. I sold the house, packed what little I had left, and moved. I didn't expect a red carpet, but I didn't expect what I got either. The day I arrived, Rick stayed on the porch while I carried in my own suitcase. Dana hugged me, quick, and told the kids to say hi to Grandpa. They gave me polite hugs, then ran off to their screens. The house was big, clean, and quiet. Rick walked me down to the basement where I'd be staying. The basement was finished but cold. Concrete floor, thin rug, futon, mini fridge. No stove, no sink, no windows. There was a bathroom, but before I could go in, Rick handed me a key. "This is for the basement bathroom," he said. "We just want to keep things organized." Organized? Boundaries, he added, like that explained everything. I didn't want to start a fight on day one. I nodded. The next morning, I woke up sore from that futon and went upstairs to make coffee. Dana was at the stove stirring something. Rick was at the table on his laptop. I went to open the pantry and he looked up. "Going somewhere?" I thought he was joking. I laughed. He didn't. "We just prefer you ask first," he said. "We're teaching the kids about structure. Can't have people just grabbing food whenever they want." People. I guess I was just people now. Dana didn't even look up. She kept stirring her soup. Then she said it. "He's right, Dad. You're not a guest. You're a burden." I swear to God, she said it flat, like she was reading from a script. My chest felt tight. I just nodded and walked back downstairs. That word bounced around in my head all day. Burden. From that point on, I kept quiet. Stayed in the basement. Ate what I could afford to order on my phone. They didn't offer to include me in dinners. Sometimes they'd text me to ask if I could pick the kids up from school or help fold laundry. I always said yes. Even when Rick rolled his eyes when I didn't fold towels his way. Even when they had guests over and pretended I didn't live there. One night, Rick asked me to move my shoes to my area because the kids were tripping over them. They were neatly lined up near the door. Another night, Dana asked if I could cut down on the walking noises at night. I used the bathroom twice quietly. I wear socks. Apparently that was disruptive. The final straw was when they announced they were going to Myrtle Beach for 5 days. Family vacation. I asked if I could tag along and pay my own way. Dana said it wasn't the right time. Rick said, "We need some nuclear family bonding." That was rich. I offered to watch the house while they were gone. Rick said, "You'll be here anyway." That Saturday, they packed up the car. Before they left, Rick came down and took the car keys off the hook. "Just a safety thing," he said. "Don't want you getting lost or anything." I asked, "Can I at least go to the store?" Rick grinned. "We stocked your fridge," he said. They hadn't. After they pulled out of the driveway, I opened the mini fridge. A bottle of mustard and an old bottle of water. That's it. I checked the upstairs pantry. Locked. Literally padlocked. I opened the trash and saw 2 whole loaves of bread and a rotisserie chicken sitting on top. Not even touched. They threw out food before they left on purpose. Like a message. I sat at their kitchen table alone. I wasn't sad anymore. I was angry. Really angry. My daughter. My own blood. After everything I'd done for her. After all those nights rocking her when she had asthma. After paying for her college. Her wedding. I didn't plan what I did next. It just happened. I went into Rick's office. He always bragged about his home vault to neighbors like it made him some kind of big shot. I knew the code: 2007, their wedding year, 11, his old college jersey. I'd seen him punch it in once when I was grabbing mail for him. I opened it. Inside, some petty cash, 2 watches, a loaded Glock in a case. I took $300 in 20s. That's it. I didn't touch the gun. I left a note. You took the keys. You locked the food. I'm not your hostage. I'm not your child. I'm not your burden. I called a cab. Paid cash. Went to a cheap extended stay hotel across town. It smelled like cigarettes, but I could breathe. That night I had a burger, fries, a beer. First hot meal in days. I slept like a rock. Next morning, I opened my laptop and called my lawyer. See, Dana didn't know this, but before my wife died, she told me to set money aside just in case things went bad. She didn't trust Rick. She had this look in her eyes the last time Dana visited. Like she saw something I didn't. I listened. We had $140,000 in life insurance she told me to hide away from myself. I used part of it to buy a small duplex in a working-class part of Louisville. One side for me. One side for someone who needs it more than my daughter ever did. I met Lisa at the food pantry. She's a single mom of 2 trying to escape her abusive ex. I offered her the other half of the duplex for $1 a month until she got back on her feet. She cried. Said no one had ever done anything kind for her. Meanwhile, Rick left me a voicemail, full of fake outrage. You stole from us? You better come back and explain yourself before I call the cops. I texted one thing back. Call them, and tell them why you took my keys and locked up food like I was an animal. Haven't heard from him since. I blocked both their numbers after that. I still miss my grandkids. That's the only part that hurts. But I've made peace with it. Rick and Dana tried to make me feel small, like I had no worth. Turns out I just needed to leave to remember who I really was. 3 weeks after I moved into the duplex, I started to breathe like a real person again. No locks on the doors. No one watching my every move. I'd wake up early, make my own coffee, sit on the porch, and just listen to the birds. Peace like that? You don't realize how valuable it is until someone takes it away. Lisa and her 2 boys moved in next door the following week. They had nothing. One small suitcase, a broken laptop, and a box of canned food from the church pantry. The boys were quiet. Lisa looked tired in her bones. Like someone who hadn't slept safe in years. I gave her my wife's old couch and bought a few things off Craigslist, a table, some bunk beds, a microwave. She cried again. Said she felt like God had sent me. I told her the truth. I'm just an old man with no one left. You gave me someone to care about again. Things were good. Simple. Until I saw Dana's car parked down the street. It was a Tuesday morning. I just come back from the grocery store. Saw the same gray SUV she always drove, tinted windows. It wasn't parked right in front of my place, just about 5 houses down. I stood there for a while, groceries in hand, just staring at it. Then it drove off. 2 days later, I got a letter in the mailbox. No return address. Inside was a photo of me and Lisa's boys sitting on the porch, smiling. I was helping them build a birdhouse. Written in black Sharpie across the photo, you replaced your grandkids with trash? No signature. But I didn't need one. The next night, someone slashed my tires. It wasn't random. My neighbor across the street said he saw a man in a hoodie sneaking around my car around midnight. Said he looked like he was trying to stay low but had a bad limp. Rick had knee surgery last fall. I didn't call the police. I didn't want more trouble. But something changed in me after that. I was done pretending this was over. I went to a lawyer, not the old one who handled my will. This one was sharper. Aggressive. Told him everything, how I'd been mistreated, how they tried to control me, how they abandoned me. I had photos, texts, the voicemail from Rick. I asked one question: can I do anything to make sure they never get near me or my money again? He smiled and said, oh yeah. We redrafted the will. Locked it with a third-party trustee. Made sure Dana and Rick were legally written out of every document. Power of attorney? Gone. Health proxy? Changed. He even helped me set up a trust in Lisa's name for her kids. Just when I thought it was all locked up. Rick showed up at the duplex. Middle of the day. I was watering the front lawn. He pulled up in his car like nothing ever happened. Walked up the driveway, arms wide. Hey, we need to talk, old man, he said, fake smile on his face. I didn't answer. I know you've been making moves. Trust funds, lawyers. I get it, okay? You're pissed. But we're family. He stepped closer. I saw the look in his eyes. That fake calm he used when he was hiding something. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. You really want to leave everything to some stray woman with bastard kids? Think that's what your wife would have wanted. I didn't move. Didn't blink. Then I said, you need to leave. Right now. He didn't. He smirked. I just came to say we're contesting everything. The will. The house. All of it. You're not in your right mind. You've got a history of depression, right? We'll make the case. I didn't react. I just stepped inside and locked the door. 5 minutes later, I called the new lawyer. Told him what happened. He said he'd start recording any threats. Suggested cameras. Paper trails. Everything. That night, I told Lisa and the boys to stay inside after dark. Rick had crossed the line. And he was about to learn I don't play nice anymore. After Rick showed up, I knew I couldn't let my guard down again. I installed security cameras that night. Front door, back alley, side fence, and one facing the street. My lawyer helped me register everything so any footage would hold up in court. He also advised me to keep a log of everything, dates, times, details. 3 days later, Dana showed up. She didn't knock. She walked right in through the side gate and started shouting from my porch. Dad, come out. I need to talk to you. Lisa peeked out her window and called me immediately. I stepped out and locked eyes with my daughter. She looked tired. Her hair was messy, no makeup, eyes red like she'd been crying. For a second, I thought maybe she was here to say sorry. Nope. She pulled out a folder and shoved it into my hands. This is a petition for guardianship, she said. You're clearly being manipulated. You've cut off your family, moved money to strangers, and we're not going to let you destroy everything Mom left for us. I couldn't even speak. I opened the folder. It was real. She'd hired a lawyer. Claimed I was mentally unstable. Claimed Lisa was preying on a grieving old man. That's what they called her in the papers. Praying. I held the folder, looked her in the eye, and asked the only thing I needed to ask. Do you really believe I'm not right in the head, or is this just about the money? Dana didn't answer. She turned, walked down the steps, got in her SUV, and peeled out like a teenager slamming the door after a tantrum. I stood there, heart racing. She wanted to take control of me. Of everything. Like I was some tool she forgot she needed until I became useful again. I went back inside and showed Lisa the paperwork. Her hands trembled. They'll come after you too, I said. They already called you a predator. I don't care what they call me, she said. I just don't want to see you get hurt. The next day, my lawyer filed a motion to dismiss the guardianship attempt. He also filed for a restraining order against Rick, citing the car vandalism and the threats. He told me we had a good chance. But he warned me this was going to get ugly before it got better. He was right. 2 weeks later, I got a visit from CPS. Someone had reported Lisa for child neglect and cohabitating with a dangerous elderly man with mental instability. They asked her boys questions, looked through her pantry, even asked if I'd ever been alone with them. Lisa cried when they left. I knew it, she whispered. I knew they'd use your love against you. They closed the case 2 days later. Said there was no cause for concern. But the damage was done. Lisa's boys were scared. She couldn't sleep. That night, I called my lawyer again. I told him I wanted to go further. Not just defend myself. I wanted to expose them. So we started digging. Turns out Rick's business, some consulting scam he ran out of a shared office space, was being investigated for fraud. My lawyer found 3 civil complaints. One involved a client who claimed Rick had promised a government contract that never existed. Another was a woman who said he billed her twice for the same strategy package. When we pulled financials, it got worse. Rick had borrowed heavily against his and Dana's home. They were underwater. My guess? That's why they suddenly cared about my money. I had proof now. Proof they were lying, manipulating, desperate. But then it got personal again. I woke up one morning to find a dead bird on my front step. Neck broken. Wings folded. Feathers everywhere. Camera caught someone in a hoodie again just after 3 a.m. Limping. I sent the video to the cops. This time, they took it seriously. Rick got a visit. And suddenly, I had leverage. But I wasn't going to use it yet. I was waiting. Because I had a plan. And it was almost time to make them feel everything they put me through. A few days after the dead bird, Rick and Dana went quiet. No more letters. No more visits. My lawyer said the restraining order against Rick was being processed. CPS had cleared Lisa. It looked like they were backing off, maybe getting scared. But I knew better. They weren't done. They were just switching tactics. Then the big one hit. I got a letter from the court. Dana had filed for full financial conservatorship. She was trying to claim I was mentally unfit to manage my own money. She brought in an old email I had sent her after my wife died when I was deep in grief. I had written, "I don't know why I'm still here. Some days I just want to sleep and not wake up." She took that and ran with it. Told the court I was suicidal. Said I was being taken advantage of by a woman with no relation and criminal background, Lisa. Claimed I was giving away my money to strangers. I had 30 days to respond before a court-appointed investigator would come evaluate my mental state. It was the dirtiest move they could have made. Lisa cried when she read the papers. Said she didn't want to be the reason my family tried to destroy me. I told her the truth. You didn't destroy anything. They did. But here's the part one haven't told you yet. I had been planning my own move for months. The moment Rick threatened to challenge my will, I started documenting everything. Every message. Every visit. The CPS stunt. The guardianship filing. Even the dead bird. I created a full report with videos, emails, text messages, the camera footage, and the screenshots of their fake claims. My lawyer organized it into one neat binder called "Why They'll Never Touch My Money." But that wasn't the only thing I had. See, I also hired a private investigator. Cost me $6,000, but it was worth every penny. And what he found? Rick had opened a credit card in my name. He used my social security number. Spent almost $7,800 on electronics, flights, and meals. Even paid for part of the Myrtle Beach trip with it. It took me a while to catch it because the bills were sent to a P.O. box he rented. Fraud. That was the final nail. I called the bank, froze the account, and filed a police report. My lawyer sent copies to the court handling the conservatorship case. That same week, Dana's lawyer dropped her case. Too much exposure. Too many lies. But I wasn't finished. I filed a civil suit against Rick for financial fraud and emotional abuse. My lawyer brought every piece of dirt we had on him, including the business scams, the CPS stunt, the threats, the credit card fraud, and even the dead bird incident. I also included statements from Lisa, the kids, the neighbors, and the private investigator. Dana tried to distance herself. She called me, crying, "Dad, I didn't know Rick was doing that. I never wanted to hurt you. I was just scared you were throwing everything away." I asked her one question. "Why didn't you stop him when he locked the food?" She went quiet. Then I said, "You let your husband treat your father like a dog. You stirred soup while he made me ask permission to eat." She sobbed. I hung up. A few months later, the court ruled in my favor. Rick was ordered to pay damages. A warrant was issued for the credit card fraud. His consulting business collapsed. He tried to start a new one, but word spread. That's the funny thing about scammers. Once the mask slips, no one forgets. Dana filed for divorce 6 months later. I didn't answer her letter. I left Louisville soon after. I gave the duplex to Lisa, deeded it fully in her name. She cried so hard she couldn't stand up. I hugged her boys goodbye and told them to protect their mom, always. Then I packed my things and left Kentucky for good. I moved to a small town in Missouri. Found a little house on a quiet street with a porch swing and a garden out back. I joined the local VFW, made friends at the diner, even started walking dogs for the shelter on weekends. Sometimes I still miss Dana. I miss the version of her that used to sit on the porch with me when she was 10, asking me if birds ever get tired of flying. But that little girl is gone. And I finally realized something. Blood doesn't make you family. Respect does. And when you let someone treat you like a burden long enough, you start believing it. Until the day you don't. That's the day everything changes. They tried to break me, but I rebuilt myself with better people. And I will never be a burden to anyone again. Not ever.